There we go. All right, we are live. Good morning, everybody. And of course, as we were just talking about, bright and early, but then also after the holiday weekend. So for everybody that's in here with us this morning, watching live on Facebook, we really appreciate this morning. And for those that may see this later, we are recording and we are going to repost on YouTube and getting this out to our parents and teachers, which are part of our Tech Hub Tech Talent Committee as well. So to start this morning, I want to go ahead and just share my screen to give everybody a little brief overview of the organization right before we get into our conversation this morning. So can everybody see my screen okay? All right. All right, so this morning, our Tech Hub Community Coffee. This morning, we have a really cool topic, very important, is best practices to online safety for kids. And our three panelists this morning is Glenn Pounder, the Chief Operating Officer at Child Rescue Coalition, which has been a member and partner of ours for a while. Sarah DeBoer, is it Horgert? Yort, okay. Sarah DeBoer Yort. Okay, thank you. I knew I was going to screw that up somehow this morning. And who's founder and president at Necessities for Children, and Patrick Craven, the executive director at the Center for Cyber Safety and Education. And our sponsor this morning is South Florida Business and Wealth, which they have been sponsoring our community coffees for a while now as well. So thank you to them. And Tech Hub South Florida. So a little bit about our organization. Our mission statement is building South Florida's tech hub. And we do have a community creed. We want to make sure that everybody feels welcome to the table. Tech Hub South Florida is wholeheartedly committed to building a welcoming, collaborative, and inclusive community for all. We put inclusivity first, engage with others, are considerate to all, and don't sell to people. So again, in short, we want to make sure that everybody who's a part of our tech and innovation ecosystem does feel welcome to the table. A little bit about our organization here. So Tech Hub South Florida, we are a nonprofit 501c6. We are a corporate member-driven organization with currently over 200 corporate members from Miami-Dade to Martin County, with a purpose of fostering a community of technology, innovation, and creativity within the region. And a little bit about our membership. So we have startup members all the way through larger enterprise members. So you can see members such as like Boca Code, Office Depot, Carrier, 2 Ton, and got a little bit of everybody in between. A little bit on the membership. So we have 4 different membership levels for our corporate members. And depending on the level, it gives you access to different member exclusive events, spotlights, speaking opportunities, customized member profile on our website, and so on. So anybody that's interested in learning more about our membership or how to get involved, please visit techhubsouthflorida.org/membership, or feel free to reach out to me. My name again is Nikki. You can find me on LinkedIn, or of course, send me an email at nikki@techhubsouthflorida.org. So with our events, we are a pretty active organization, always offering typically about 2 to 5 events every single week. So there's always something to get involved in. Our tech talks, we have alternating on Monday evenings, hence the name. They're typically much more technical discussions. We host them and move them around the region. So we start in West Palm, then go to Boca, Fort Lauderdale, and then Miami. So we are getting those back to doing them in person. And we do work with some different partner locations to host those as well. Our community coffees, such as this morning, community coffees, we typically talk about different best practices, connecting with local leaders on important topics such as this morning, anything from talent attraction and retention, something technical, and again, everything in between. We do alternate them Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. with our podcasts. The podcasts, we try to stay regional as much as we can, and we alternate those discussions between leaders in the funding space, technology, innovation, startup community, and of course, everything in between there as well. Last but not least, our Lunch and Learns, which we host Friday afternoons from 12 to 1. The Lunch and Learns are intended to be introductory, so it can be something on technical, like introductory to Python, or something maybe that is personal or professional development, or maybe even something such as like agile best practices. So again, we kind of alternate those discussions as well. anybody that is looking for a job opportunity. So on our website, we do have a tab that says talent, and there is a job board there, but there's also something called a resume distributor. The resume distributor, you can create a little short profile, upload your resume, and once you hit submit, it actually goes to all the member companies in our community all at once. So that way it's an easy way to get your resume into the company's hands. And last but not least, here, our Slack channel is a very active Slack channel. We've got over 4,500 members now. That is techhubsouthflorida.org/Slack. Or we also have a newsletter that goes out with news and events to keep everybody updated every week on Monday afternoon. You can actually text us your email address to be added to that. You can text 561-250-7206, and we'll make sure to get you added there. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And to help us, I want to be able to introduce everybody that's on our panel this morning, give you a second to tell us a little bit about yourself, the organization that you come from, just before we get into the Q&A. So I'm just going to start with who's on my screen first, and I have Glenn.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you for having me this morning as well. Yeah, Glenn Pounder. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Child Rescue Coalition. You don't have to adjust your sound. I do talk a little bit strangely because I'm British. So my background is UK law enforcement for 3 decades, working for the Queen from the age of 17 through to just 3 years ago when I left the Queen service to come and work full-time at Child Rescue Coalition. So what we do, we're a 501c3 non-profit. We provide free technology to law enforcement, which allows them to identify and help to arrest child predators in their jurisdiction.
Thank you, Glenn. Yes, I'm always impressed with the work that you guys do. In this discussion, we'll learn a little bit more about it, but I'm always very impressed. Next, I've got on my screen, Patrick.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Pat Craven. I am the director of the nonprofit Center for Cyber Safety and Education. We are a charity that was created by cybersecurity professionals, specifically the members of ISC Squared, is a way to give back, is how we originally started. And we focused really heavy on teaching people how to be safe online. So we have programs for children, programs for parents, programs for senior citizens, all on how to be safe online. A lot of it is materials they can get on our website. But we also utilize volunteers to go out and put on presentations. So we have volunteers literally around the world. Our materials are in 24 different languages, and we're just real excited to continue to spread the word and try to make it a safer cyber world.
That's wonderful, Patrick. I actually just learned something. I thought you guys were national, so I'm learning it's global. So wonderful. Last but not least, of course, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm the founder and president of Necessities for Children. We are a nonprofit where our work started in Kenya. I had gone on a 10-week teaching internship and continue to support an organization over there. However, we know that our work needs to start at home. And so we have been focusing our efforts on building a sustainable nonprofit. We're also a 501c3 and really looking at where we can fill the gap. Our mission, like I said, is to support low income, is to support youth K through 12, equipping them with 21st century skills to be successful. And we identified that through to be the computer science area. And what's involved in computer science is coding, robotics, and cybersecurity, cyber safety, of which has got probably the least attention. So this year, our focus has been on cyber safety and cybersecurity programs for teens, and then also going into Cyber Safety Day and collaborating with the Center for Cyber Safety and Education and Pat for our Cyber Safety Day in September. So
wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. So Sarah, for the questions, we're actually going to start with you this morning. So I wanted to ask you, just to kind of start out the conversation, you know, we're talking about online safety, but one thing that is a big factor here is noting that academically, the children now are using a lot more media and technology than they used to, you know, decades ago. So can you give us some examples of the digital divide between lower and higher income families?
Well, there's two different things that come into play. There's when we talk the digital divide, we're talking both the access to the actual electronics, if you be not just a cell phone, where many low-income homes don't have laptops or computers or devices. They may be trying to do homework on a cell phone. So we're not just talking the connectivity, we're also talking the access to the devices. And then the other big thing that comes into play with all of that is that, you know, what we often don't talk about to youth and even adults, we don't talk about it, is that our digital footprint is as important as our actual footprint. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but, you know, when with the low income, it's like, you know, I look at some households where, you know, you have maybe one cell phone and they don't have the, you know, unlimited data, and the kids aren't able to do their homework. And so then you get into what's called the homework gap, or so it's not just that digital divide with the connectivity, it's having those devices. And certainly the pandemic dollars have been poured into getting devices into hands of youth. Some states and counties, if you will, have done better job of getting hotspots. But when you're talking about a family that has to go to a hotspot, free hotspot location in order for them to do their homework, and chances are they only have probably maybe 1-2 devices, maybe one's a cell phone, and you know, it's just challenging. So you know, you can really see how it's exasperated the not only when we look at computer science and that as being a job growth area and the #1 sector where jobs are. So we feel that if education can make a difference, we can do that through enhancing computer science education. But it does start with, we have laptops that we literally bring out to the kids because their devices at the school are dead, or the kids don't have their own devices to work on. So it's a challenge, and yet an opportunity, if you will.
Thank you for that. And I wanted to preface, you know, the conversation with that question, just because I think, you know, today we're going to be talking a lot about the dangers and the things that are not safe online for kids, and kind of how to work against those things or prepare ourselves for those things. But it still is very important that people understand there is a digital divide, and still being online is a necessity. And it's something that, you know, all of our students in the lower income communities don't have those opportunities. And so there is a huge positive, and there is also a huge negative with getting online. So that's part of, you know, the discussion today, is how to do that safer.
You know, the other thing, if I can just interject one other thing, is, and I'm president of the Broward chapter of the United Nations, and there is also a big push on a global level and even through the United Nations to create a roadmap, and knowing that when we talk the 17 global sustainable development goals, that it's an infrastructure, it's a necessity in order to be able to be connected, to be able to call 911, to be able to access the services available. And if you're not connected, whether it's only through dial-up or maybe a cell phone, and one goes down, then it affects so many more pieces of the puzzle than just having internet access or just having a device.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Sarah, too. So I want to you know, give this next question to you, Glenn. So we're talking about, you know, academically, the kids' needs for media and technology. So I want to switch it a little bit to, because now they're pushing so much media and technology in the schools, and to be able to do homework and so on, as Sarah was just talking about, entertainment, social life, play are now also increasingly becoming digital. So the majority of our kids' screen time is not taking place on traditional television. Of course, how I was brought up, and I'm sure many of you are as well, watching Saturday morning cartoons. A lot of our kids, including mine, get up and they want to get up and play Minecraft or be, you know, online instead of just watching the television. So can you give us some examples, Glenn, of how over the last few decades, when it comes to screen time, that's actually changed for kids, and, you know, the content that they're viewing, and maybe some of the platforms that they're getting this content from, and why that's so scary?
Yeah, and I know we don't have much more than an hour today, so
you could probably talk about it for hours, huh?
Yeah, we really could be. There's a lot to unpack here, and I absolutely get where Sarah's coming from. And you know, sometimes people will say, in our world, when we're trying to combat child predators, oh, well, just keep your kids offline. Well, that's not really possible these days, right? And there is a world of information out there for kids, and there are safe ways for kids to operate online. And just to touch on what Patrick said, and I know he'll be coming back to that, I'm sure, but teaching our kids to navigate the online space is as important as teaching me when I was 8 years old to cross the road, right? So giving the kids that digital driving license is absolutely crucial. I could pick out different platforms for dangers for kids, but the problem with doing that is then people pick up and say, oh, keep your kids off Roblox or keep your kids off this, rather than learning the nature of what makes the platforms dangerous, right? So things like connectivity with strangers, huge red flag. The ability for the child to take and send pictures, huge red flag. But the reason, to come back to the starting point of what's changed over these few decades, is the technology, right? I think we all know that. But what hasn't really changed over those decades is the legislation, right? So there's no legislation which compels these tech companies, which, as we know, making billions of dollars from us and our data. There's no legislation which compels them to protect children on their platform. There's no duty of care. So, and that goes way beyond child predators to other types of harmful content, unlike the television you mentioned, where the television companies had to abide by rules for things that they put on their shows. Well, the tech companies, it's a lot of the time it's down to user-generated content, and then the tech companies can say, "Oh, but we didn't publish it. It was content from one person posted to another." So I'll shut up there for a second because I know we've got a lot to get through. But yeah, it's hugely challenging and really a lot more complicated, I think, than some people realize.
Thank you, Glenn. Yeah, and just I wanted to mention also, just as I'm going, if anybody has anything to add to anything that's asked or any comments that I made, please feel free to also, just so you guys feel comfortable to have a conversation about it as well. So I did want to ask Patrick, my next question is just, nowadays with these online platforms becoming more dangerous, and the parents really, you know, as Glenn was saying, not knowing the best practices around them or kind of how to teach the kids and how to handle that. Can you discuss the importance of having different online protection tools and providing some examples or best practices for parents?
Yeah, no, Glenn hit it on the head when he talked about the you can't focus on a particular app or a particular platform or social media kind of thing, because first off, they're all changing constantly, right? Yeah, I mean, some of us grew up with, you know, there was MySpace and then Facebook and then Snapchat and Instagram, TikTok. So, you know, every couple of years something comes up that's different, that's hot, that the kids are using. And so what we try to focus on is not so much that particular platform, but the overall how to be safe. And it really comes down to us as parents making sure that we're having conversations with our kids, as hard as that is, right? Because we don't know this stuff like they do. We're not using it. We're not on these platforms all the time. So we always encourage people to make sure that you learn about these different platforms. Now, I know there's all kinds of apps out there that parents can use, technology. That stuff's great. That's good, but it's just a tool. It's not the answer, because again, these kids are so smart, they'll figure out how to get around a lot of these different tracking apps and things like that in minutes, or their friends will show them. I always joke there's probably a YouTube video about how to get around some of these things. But so it's just really important that we as parents work with the children, talk with them, know what they're at, know what platforms they're on, do a little research. Are the platforms age appropriate for them? You know, in the States, you're supposed to be 13 in order to be on social media. Yet we've done research that shows that over half of elementary school children are already on social media, where they're not even old enough yet to be on. So we as parents need to make sure that we're limiting that or having those conversations with them. And something I always suggest with parents is to follow them on the platform. If they're on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram, you should have an account and you should be following them. And I'm not saying, stalk them. Don't put little hearts or like everything that they do. You'll chase them away if you do that. But that way you're able to see what they're posting, what's going on, and then you can have a conversation. If something comes up that's, John, that's not really good. Let's talk about that picture you put up or that comment you made to somebody that came across kind of mean. And so we encourage parents that it's all about them getting involved.
It's funny that you said that, Patrick, because that was actually the next question towards Sarah too, is because, as I was doing some research to put the questions together for this panel, I didn't even realize that, the age of kids that are really starting to use digital devices. And, there was a few different websites that I found some data in there that was saying that, between the ages of 5 to 8 is when most children actually gain their digital independence, and that over 2/3 of them actually have their own device. And I started thinking about that and I'm like, yeah, actually my kids do too at that age. So I think it was something that I even did myself without realizing. And I definitely fit within those percentages and those statistics myself. I want to ask Sarah, so knowing that, because I know that you guys also target your target audience is like kindergarten, I think, through 5th grade, right, Sarah?
Well, kindergarten through 5th grade, we actually just finished a cyber safety and security program that was for teenagers 13 to 17, where we really dove into a lot of these topics from the deep dark web to cyberbullying to solicitation and exposure to we really talk to the kids on their level. So this is actually where we're looking at right now and working with our cyber safety day is going to be that 6 to 11 age group. And, and again, it goes back to statistics, like, and this is actually from, the ISC or the square, the stranger danger, where it says 40% of youth have connected and or chatted online with a stranger, and of those 53% revealed their phone number. 11% met a stranger in their own home or in a park, restaurant, or mall. 21% spoke on the phone to a stranger. 30% texted. It just 6% revealed their home address, 15% tried to meet a stranger. Like, the stats are if a youth who is educated is much less likely to fall into a predatory or dangerous situation. They will, at least a flag will go up and they'll say, something's off here, I shouldn't be doing this. So it's looking at it and knowing that these stats are real. And if we don't talk to the kids about it, even my twin sister, my nieces are 13 years old. And she says, in regards to this teenage program, she says, well, a bit of those few topics might be a bit old for them. And Pat had made a good point to me. He said, if they're old enough to have a cell phone, they are old enough to learn about how to be safe. So yeah, it's important we talk about it with the youth.
Yeah, and if I could, Nikki, what's important, the research that she was talking about, I just want to stress that was for elementary school children. 40% of elementary school children have already chatted with a stranger online. I mean, if you look at those stats, thinking of high school kids, I'd say that's low, right? But for elementary school children are already chatting with strangers online, and it just, I saw that the average child gets a phone by 10 years old. They already have a phone and they're connecting, and it's just, it just starts so young. We have to start young. This really became a revelation for us that high school and middle school kids were almost too late. We've got to start that conversation younger and younger with these kids, because that's when they're getting on.
Yeah, agreed. And I wanted to know, Sarah, and Patrick, because Sarah, you had mentioned the cybersecurity safety days. So do you both want to tell us a little bit about that and what that is and why, events like this are so important to the community?
I'll let Pat step in and do this. We're collaborating together to hold the first one in Southeast Florida. A lot of our efforts so far have been in Broward County, but we wanted to include Palm Beach and Miami-Dade. So we're making it the Tri-Counties, Southeast Florida, and Pat will tell you a little bit more about what the Cyber Safety Day is and the whole initiative behind it. So.
Sure, I appreciate that. So just to back up a step, we talked about how we focus on teaching children, parents, seniors, and program. Well, if you notice here, I've got all these things of Garfield behind me. We actually, after we did that research that talked about how elementary school kids are already talking to strangers, getting online, doing things, we realized that we needed to reach younger. But us, all of the people on this call as adults doing a PowerPoint presentation to second and third graders probably wasn't the best way. So we actually had the idea, we reached out to Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, who joined us instantly on putting together programs for elementary school children that features Garfield and friends. So there's cartoons, comic books, stickers, trading cards, all kinds of fun ways that we engage children. Well, then the next step was, how do we get it to them? And obviously schools are a big piece of how we do that. And we created what we call Cyber Safety Days. We've done them in New Orleans, Tampa, Orlando, New York, St. Louis. And what it is we just try to get everybody to focus for one day on teaching children how to be safe online. And so we pick third graders, and we try to provide the Garfield program, one of the 3 lessons that we have, to as many third graders. The ultimate goal would be every third grader, but to as many third graders we can in a community all in one day. We did this in Tampa a while back, and we did 10,500 third graders at 100 different schools all in one day. And we're real excited to be partnering with Sarah and Necessities for Children to try to recreate that in Southeast Florida, the Miami general area, to do that this fall. So Sarah, you want to mention the details of what you've got going?
Well, it's and Dawn as well has been taking the lead on this. So maybe, Dawn, I can let you jump in as well if you have anything to add. We have ongoing STEM programming with Jack and Jill Children's Center. So they have agreed to be our media school. So should funding be received in the amount that we're able to even bring Garfield, we'll bring Garfield there. But we are, it's really, in like Pat said, we can have a goal of, if we count the tri-counties, there's 50,000 youth. So our target goal in terms of funding to cover all the grade 3 youth is tremendous. We are getting additional schools signed up every week. So part of our plan is getting schools to sign up, and based on the number of schools, we're going to hopefully, knock on all wood, be doing everything we can to raise the funding so that every single student can be that signs up is able to be included in this program. So it's October 27th, the Wednesday, October 27th. I think the important thing to know for schools, and it's just to keep in mind, is a classroom kit is sent. And although October 27th is the day we're wanting it to roll out, if logistics on a school level say, they say, I don't know if we can commit to that day, there is flexibility that they can teach that curriculum program at a different day. So it's not that they're held to that exact day. So I think that's important to note, because there has been a lot of uncertainty with, whether it's going to be in class, whether it's hybrid, all those logistics to work through on a school level. So I want to encourage any schools or anyone that's debating whether to participate to know that, like what Pat was saying, as a kit, each student receives a comic book. They receive all the lessons related to the topics. And I believe Pat, you might have to fill in. There's one on cyber safety, cyberbullying, and is it cyber privacy? Is that the third one?
Yeah, the privacy, safe posting, and cyberbullying are the 3 lessons, and the kids will get one of those lessons that day. And it has an original Garfield cartoon that we created with Jim Davis, and it has all the real Garfield voices. And then she said the comic book and everything that goes with it, the kids will get. It's just been great. The just super exploding program around the world for us.
I can chime in here for a minute. We picked 10/27 because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so trying to hit that date in October. But as Sarah said, it's not required that they listen to the lesson that day, depending on their schedule. I think it's important to note, Nikki is also helping us with this. We are trying to reach the districts, the superintendents, down to the principals, down to the teachers, down to the students, and obviously the parents, because we want to sort of start a fire basically on getting people motivated to participate in this based on all the subject matter that we're talking about today and the risk to kids. The one thing I wanted to address, I love the point that Glenn made about giving kids a driving license to go online. And it made me think about when we talked about watching TV as kids, and our parents use that as a babysitter. Go watch TV for 2 hours. And so what's happening now is, in a way, the digital world has become the babysitter. And so this whole idea of addressing, the parental responsibility of somebody working from home and 2 kids pulling at them and they say, go play on your tablet. Part of that is babysitting and survival mode. And so I think getting into that mentality of, oversight when you're telling somebody to go play and not paying attention to what they do, and suddenly they're talking to a stranger online. So the word that stood out for me was in the work that I do, as well as addressing this babysitter concept, and how do we shift from that to make sure that you remain responsible for what your kids are doing.
Yes, that's a very key point, Dawn. And I think I want to thank you for adding that, because I think, a lot of this is, I think on, educating the students, but then also educating the parents, because there's some things also, which, is my next question to Glenn, but is, as much as we want to teach the kids and as the best job that we can possibly do, there's still out there these predators that are coming after our kids. And of course, they're adults. They're smarter than our children. They're smarter than our 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. And there's a lot of ways for them to get around what we're trying to teach these students. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well, because as much as we're trying to educate our kids, my question to you, Glenn, is, because this is the work that you do all day long, is, there's these online multiple types of threats, right? And to me, as a parent, I think are probably the scariest ones, because these are adults that are coming after our children. But can you talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that these predators are trying to contact our kids, and some of the things that maybe the parents should be aware of that maybe we aren't?
Yeah, sure. And again, even, and we do it as well, we use that word predator, right? And it almost creates that, obviously we've probably all seen the movie, right? It creates an image of somebody who's an alien or somehow different, but these predators are here, they're in every city on the planet. So I think it's just worth bearing in mind that, some of these guys, and it is normally guys, are people we know, people who've got good jobs, people in positions of trust. So they're out there. They're anywhere that children are online. That's where they like to go, right? But I think in terms of how and where they connect with kids, they don't fit into one neat box either, right? So some online predators will pretend to be children. Of course, they'll pretend to be children of a similar age, and other online predators will say their real age. So some of them will be 22, but they'll be looking to target perhaps an older level child, like a 13 or 14-year-old, and they'll tell them they're 22, but they'll give them attention, and they'll say things like, "You're so hot." And of course, the kids at 13 or 14 are experimenting online in ways that were impossible only 20 years ago. So they're getting attention, and so obviously the conversation moves on from there. I think the other real point, and it's a simple one, but it's something that's often forgotten, not by me, because I'm 50 and I remember being a young child, but when we got home, if I was 10, 12 years old, as soon as I got home, well, then my parents knew I was safe in my bedroom. Arguably, that's completely the opposite of the way things are today, right? If your child's in its bedroom with an online device, that might be the most dangerous part of the day for them. And I think that simple point is often lost on people. And, I agree with the guys with regards to parents need to get involved, but obviously we're all busy, right? And I think it's kind of rough now on parents who are busy and are like, oh, well, now what do I do? Because, my child's now not safe in their bedroom with an online device. Of course, that just seems wrong. And it comes back to what I said earlier and what I might repeat at the end. The fact that there's no duty of care for these billion-dollar companies just seems wholly wrong to me. And I know we don't have time to talk about the U-turn by Apple, for example. Just seems wholly wrong. And to put this back on parents and caregivers and teachers, again, just seems wrong to me. But that's the way we are right now. So unfortunately, it is on parents and caregivers and teachers to try and help the kids navigate this dangerous space, and it is a dangerous space, I'm afraid.
And I think the word, just as you're talking, Glenn, that comes to mind, because you were saying is often, we call them predators. And I think you're right, is that when we say that, we think of some sort of alien or somebody that acts or looks different. And when you were talking, the first word that came to mind was actually frenemies, that it's somebody like they're trying to be the kid's friend. They're trying to, whether it's pretending to be their age or not, that they're really trying to connect with them and be their friends before anything and learn about them and kind of get to know their online practices and about the kids, and then they go after them. It's not like something that jumps out at you and this evil thing that you see immediately.
Absolutely. And often, of course, the kids have formed that relationship online and they don't see them as a stranger, right? So in the child's world, that is a friend, because that online space is as real as can be. So yeah, I think that's a great reminder point. And yeah, I mean, some of these bad guys will spend the time and really spend a lot of time and effort, getting to know that child and things that will make that child respond. Others are just casting a huge net, and they're just trying to connect with hundreds of kids at any one time. And often the predator will have 10, 12, 15 different online personas that they're using at the same time.
And Glenn, just so while we're on this topic, because for anybody that may not know exactly what Child Rescue Coalition does, can you explain real briefly just what exactly you guys do on a daily basis? Because me knowing what you do, it makes sense as you're talking, but can you kind of explain for everybody that may not know?
Yeah, so we monitor unregulated spaces on the internet. So not the social media platforms, but spaces where criminals are trading child sexual abuse material. So material where children of 12 and younger are being sexually abused is being traded by online criminals. And the technology we provide, I mentioned earlier, to law enforcement, allows law enforcement in any given state or country around the world to investigate those criminals. And again, it's obviously really horrific to mention, but we're not talking here about a picture of a 19-year-old who's been dressed up as a schoolgirl. We're talking about the rape, the sometimes violent rape of very young children. And again, just to finish off on predators, these online predators can now connect in ways that were also impossible 25 years ago. Because previously they might have had to walk into a bar or a pub and say, is anybody interested in child abuse, right? And of course, most bars and pubs, they'd be beaten up. But these days they can go online and they normalize that relationship with other like-minded individuals and congregate and tell each other that this is an acceptable way to behave. Well, those connectivities were impossible just 25 years ago.
Thank you, Glenn. And I appreciate all the work that you're doing too, because I've seen some stuff on local news and things where you guys have caught some of these predators. So I appreciate the work that you're doing very much.
No, thanks. And again, you'll probably have seen them, people in positions of trust, here in Boca, elementary school teachers,
Yeah.
And again, that's what people sometimes miss. They're like, oh, well, they're others. Well, they're not, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, and to go back to what we were talking about earlier, what you were saying is that a lot of these are those quote unquote frenemies, because, you know, you're right that when I did see some of the most recent presentations that you all had made, they were teachers. I think one particularly of a school with students that had disabilities that couldn't, you know, protect themselves. I think one was a gymnastics teacher. I mean, you guys had shared quite a few different ones that were all in places of power or places of, you know, we're supposed to trust these people taking care of your kids. It wasn't just some random person off the street.
Yeah, of course, unfortunately, and we've had pediatricians, but if you think about it, in some ways it makes sense, right? Because all these professions are recruiting from society. So of course, it makes sense that there'll be a small percentage of people in positions of trust who will be these same people who have a dangerous and obviously highly illegal sexual interest in children.
Exactly. So I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other types of online safety that we're talking about here, because I know a lot of times we're talking about the predators or the frenemies, people kind of coming after our kids, but let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the other things that we are not as familiar with. I know that cyberbullying has become, I think, more of a discussion lately than it has ever before. I think we've probably seen, all of us have seen some of these stories in the news with kids dealing with online cyberbullying. And I think this question is for you, Patrick, but, you know, even for me, before I really started learning about it, I think one misconception that even I had as a parent is that, oh, cyberbullying only happens to teenagers, or it only happens with the older kids. But now, because so many of our youngsters do have these digital platforms and are getting online much earlier, we're starting to see this happen younger and younger. So can you talk a little bit about what should parents know about cyberbullying? What can parents do if their child is being harassed or bullied? What are some of the you know, I guess, the things that the parents can put in place or educate themselves on cyberbullying?
Yeah, it is a major concern. And, you know, again, all of us, right, growing up, the bully was the mean kid on the playground. But when you went home at the end of the day, you left that behind you. Well, now that bully follows our kids home, and as well as could be 100 other bullies all follow them as home because of the platforms and their openness for sharing, that people can join in, and one person says something and everybody else can begin piling on. And often it might start off as something as a friend making a joke, but then other people catch it and it blows out of proportion. But, you know, the big thing for parents, in order to be able to help with this, you first got to watch and understand the signs if your child is actually being bullied. And again, as I mentioned earlier, being on that platform with them, you might be able to see some of the things being said and can address it quickly. But look for signs of anger or depression, or just your child's frustrated after they've been using their device. Normally they have fun on there, but if they're having the opposite effect, there could be some signs there. Or if they stop using it all of a sudden, unexpectedly, they just quit using it. They're no longer on their phones or their tablets. No, I don't want to get on. No, I don't want to be on the computer. Those are kind of signs. And then if it becomes uneasy about going to school, you know, it could actually be cyberbullying that could translate into physical, or verbal, where they're actually seeing the kids at school and they're making fun of them about something that was posted online, and it just continues. And so that's the big difference between bullying of old and bullying today. Is it's non-stop, 24/7. Every time the child picks up their phone, there's something else. There's more messages, more people, and it's hard for them to put it away and still be, as Glenn talked about, you know, where kids are on all the time. They need to be. It's where everything is. I don't know, can you buy a set of encyclopedias anymore? I don't think so. You know, everything's online, so they have to be comfortable when they're online. And if they become just abnormally withdrawn from friends or family members, those are signs that we have to take action in dealing with it.
Yeah, and actually you just made me think, Patrick, is even, just adults, I'm sure we've all heard the term of like keyboard warriors, where we all feel more confident behind the screen. And I think that kids probably have the exact same thing, is that they become these keyboard warriors. And once there's multiple kids doing it, then they feel a little bit more emboldened to kind of maybe do something that they wouldn't in person. And I think that, like you were saying, is once they feel confident enough, I mean, the scary part is, taking that back to school and doing it verbally or in person, is a scary thought.
Well, and one thing too, I'll throw in is that, we think about the kids and their kids to kids type of thing, but who needs to set better examples are all of us as well. The things that we're saying, the things that we're posting. Obviously, it's a hot political world we're in right now, and all of us need to take a lesson on being a good example, a good role model for kids about what we're posting and saying online.
Exactly. And so I forget in the beginning who mentioned it. I think it might have been you, Patrick, but we were talking a little bit about like the digital footprint. So Glenn, I wanted to ask you, can you explain what exactly is a digital footprint, and why is it so important for parents to understand what a digital footprint is? I mean, we're talking about getting on TikTok or YouTube, or you just using the internet or whatever, but what is the digital footprint, and why is it so important for the kids to know once they get on that one is being created?
Yeah, I mean, again, there are age-appropriate conversations to have with kids, right? And again, you definitely don't want to be starting that conversation by scaring the kids. And I should preface what I'm going to say next by saying I don't know one law enforcement officer who's ever going to arrest a 14-year-old for sending a picture of themselves to their girlfriend or boyfriend. But the reality is they're committing a criminal offense by doing that, right? And that's not something that's often talked about, again, probably for good reason, because we don't want to frighten children. But that digital recording of that naked child is gone forever once it's been sent, right? And Snapchat was mentioned earlier. Well, unfortunately, there are ways around that with Snapchat. So even kids who think they're sending a picture and it will be deleted, well, we know of cases where that's not happened at all. And some of these online relationships, right, have involved a girl or boy sending pictures to who they think is somebody their age, and then that material then appears in these kind of deeper and darker areas of the internet that we monitor. So that what we call user-generated content, UGC, is something that bad guys will look for. So every single trace of these digital fingerprints is normally gone forever. And so some of this is about the kids themselves, and some of it is also about the parents and what they share online. So, and again, I know we don't have a ton of time, but at Child Rescue Coalition Education, we run a campaign around hashtags. So if you post a picture, potty time, bath time, baby bath time, they're hashtags that bad guys will be searching for pictures of your kids. And then they'll be sharing around those pictures with other criminals and commenting on them and what they would like to do. And again, it's not just about the kids and what they leave as a digital fingerprint, it's about parents as well. And knowing that once you put that stuff out there, do you want bad guys to be able to search your kid's school uniform? Do you want bad guys to know where your child goes to school? So obviously it's all about checking your settings, checking what you actually post. And again, we talked about predators earlier, and the TV show To Catch a Predator. Often these bad guys have no intention of actually meeting the child in the real world. Some of them are purely online abusers, and they'll exploit the child to the point of the child not only sending more and more graphic pictures and videos of themselves, and again, this is horrific, but also they'll try and exploit the child into abusing a younger sibling. So that's the kind of level of depravity we're talking about with these online predators. And again, I know it's difficult to hear, but unfortunately it's on us as a society to try and do everything we can to combat it. So
Yeah, and Glenn, I have to say, personally, I've attended quite a few things that you guys have done and different presentations. And I know there was one at least maybe 2 years ago that I attended that you guys were talking about that, the hashtags. So I started going back and looking at even things that I had posted. And so ever since then, I actually, because of something that you guys had said, I stopped with the hashtags. I don't do like real-time posting either, because I know that a lot of, these platforms, they almost want you to post in real time, or they use the geofencing location, kind of where you're posting wherever you are in that moment. I don't do that either anymore. So there's a lot of things that I think just even parents that we have to educate ourselves about that we do, that we don't realize can be harming our children. So it's not just the things that the kids may say online to these predators or whoever it may be, it's the things that we're doing that are opening up our kids to these predators. Because again, the hashtags and the, posting where I am in real time, those type of things, I know personally I've stopped doing that because of you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's such a pity, right? And obviously, I've already said, I'm here in South Florida, but obviously my family are in the UK, and you want to be able to share, pictures and happy moments. It's just about that, having that little pause before you post. Like, what am I posting here? Is there any danger to it? And if there isn't, all right, great. But just have that little pause is what I would say.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point. I wanted to switch the conversation slightly because I know we've got about 5 minutes left. Over to you, Sarah. So I wanted to talk about when necessities for children. I mean, you guys do a lot of, you promote technology, right? You try to teach the kids the importance of creating instead of just playing. So can you tell me a little bit about why is that so important? Why is it so important that we teach kids that technology can be good, that you can create things on technology versus just you have to be an active player? Why is teaching them that difference so important?
Well, I do want to mention the one thing with digital footprint and with playing versus utilizing it for good, because one stat I recently, it wasn't even a stat, it was one of our guest speakers, and we incorporate half of our programs, our guest speakers, where they really speak to their real world experiences. And he was sharing how he's in a really high position where he hires and he gets these resumes, and the first thing he does before he even reads a resume or anything or looks at references is he Googles the name. And so your online footprint, I mean, it's been estimated about 40% of kids don't get jobs because of their online digital footprint. So it's important for that bigger thing. But and in terms of the playing, I think if kids knew the opportunities that they could have, Microsoft just came out with a Minecraft educational, version. So really kind of putting those tools into the hands of kids rather than, like Dawn was mentioning, using it as a babysitter. If the kids knew that this is a very lucrative career, there's lots of jobs open now and in the future. The technology, we narrowed in on computer science because in schools, there's been a fair bit of, coding specific things or robotics, but again, very little in the cybersecurity space. But when you're talking engaging youth, and the curriculum's already packed enough, you think, teachers are teaching to the test and everything like that. There's all different things out there. But if we can help and provide, enhance and work with existing youth service providers to really bring some key focused areas and some attention to those that have job opportunities where we incorporate the guest speakers to really engage and inspire the youth. I think that's where it starts, because, I know one of the things that, and I'll jump into this, I know you're going to ask as a one last piece of advice to leave with to leave today's discussion. But if you're a student or if you're in college, the best thing to do is try to get some tech experience through an internship or some kind of summer job, because that's where employers, anyone who's looking is going to look first. So try to play around. There's a lot you can learn online that is really, it's fun, it's interesting. And I think if kids know the options, that there's a lot out there.
That's a great point, Sarah. And actually, when you were talking about even early on about the digital footprint, so my background before doing what I am now, I was actually in staffing. And it's funny because the very first thing that I do before I look at the resume, do anything, is I go, let me look this person up online. So yes, so that really does happen. Whether it's an employer themselves or you're working through a staffing company, people do that. So definitely a message to kids as they get older and they're starting to, look for jobs and whatever, that yes, people will look you up and they are going to look at the things you post. And I think to Glenn's point earlier is a lot of things that they think go away. You'd be surprised what you can find from people from years and years ago that is still there, that I'm sure that maybe they don't even know that's still there.
Yeah,
But
and I just
yeah.
put a little video in the chat.
Mhm.
I know we don't have time because of time today, but it's just a great little video that you could share with your kids. That's kind of interesting about everything that we're talking about today.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And for anybody that's watching live, I know you can't see the link, so I will make sure to drop that in the Facebook comments there too. And yes, so we actually just have about 2 minutes left. So yes, I do want to ask the rest of our panelists here if there's any one last thing that you can kind of leave us here with, any kind of tip for our parents, the students, just any kind of last words. We would love to hear from you both, Glenn and Patrick as well.
Yeah, I'll go very quickly. And again, I've mentioned our education tips. We've just created some new videos in 10 languages, which are intended really for parents and educators. But we just mentioned Minecraft there, Minecraft, Roblox, some of the ones where we think, oh, well, they're really safe. I would advise people to any game or app they're concerned about that their child is accessing, put in this simple search into Google, put in the name of the app, put in Minecraft, pedophile, arrest, put those 3 words in and see what you get. And then, then you might want to reflect on what kind of settings of privacy and anything else that's going on in that particular game or app. That's kind of where I'll leave it. And great work from the guys there with regards to age appropriate content. I also recommend for my old agency, Think You Know, and from here in the States, iGuardian from Homeland Security Investigations. This is where law enforcement are passing on the messages from real cases, but for age appropriate content for children. But thanks again for having me today, and very interesting.
To follow up on Glenn's, my thought would be is, he hit it, is do the research. Take a little bit of time, find out what's going on out there. As parents, we can't keep up with all of this. There's others like Glenn and other organizations that are helping us do that. So we just definitely want to, don't just let the kids decide what they're going to do and everything that they're going to be on and what platforms they're going to be on. Make sure that you're getting involved with them and doing that. And on our website, iamcybersafe.org, we have tons of materials and videos for parents just on that, just to help you understand some of the real things that you should be looking at and be focusing on. And we just this past week released a brand new lesson training program on gaming. Specifically, Minecraft's been brought up a bunch. It's for parents on how to help your kids safely get online and do gaming. And so we encourage you to come check it all out. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much to all of you. And I did see, Sarah, you put in there parental controls. So yes, there are a lot of ways that you can put parental controls on these games. But I also just wanted to kind of close this out here with, I think, to your point, Patrick, earlier, was just that I think a lot of this too, getting involved in what you're doing with your kids. I know I'm not a gamer. I hate gaming. I don't enjoy it, but my kids have kind of gotten me to go, okay, it's not that bad, because they'll say, Mom, will you come play this with me? And I think just as a parent, being okay doing some of that so that you understand what they're seeing and what they're going through too, and kind of being a part of it with them, and so that they don't feel weird about you also getting on and kind of watching what they're doing. So that's something that I've been doing, but I just wanted to thank you guys also for coming on bright and early, for everybody that's joined us, both live and then here in Zoom. Again, we are recording, so I'll make sure to push this back out to our parents and our teachers and the contacts that we have at the different school districts. So thank you again, and hopefully everybody has a wonderful day today. Thank you.